Hello friends and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm really glad you're here. My name is Becca and this channel is all about my love for spinning, knitting, weaving, crocheting, sewing, all the fiber things. I invite you to grab whatever project you have on the go and join me. Let's make some stuff. Today I'm really excited because we're going to do some spinning of a heritage breed sheep, Black Welsh Mountain. I'm going to share some information that I have from a couple of books about this breed and my experience with the spinning, and I hope that you'll try it out for yourself. It's a lovely wool. Before we get into that though, I wanted to give you an update on my winter knitting projects that I shared in my last video. I've made great progress over this last month and a half or so, and have a couple of finished objects to show you and a couple of works in progress. My first finished object is the Tiger's Eye merino and silk lace shawl or scarf. This thing is monstrously huge. I probably can't get it all in frame. That is half of it. It is a yarn that I spun on my Ashford Elizabeth 2. It's a 2-ply, probably sport weight is what it ended up with. Some of the places are a little thinner, some are a little thicker, but I really love this color shift from the silk, where it took the dye, where it didn't take the dye. This was hand-dyed fiber from Car Park Artisans. And as always, I'll put links in the description box if you're interested in finding that for yourself. But this is, as I said, a hand-dyed merino wool and silk blend of fiber that I spun. And then the pattern is a lace pattern from one of the books that I have. This is a book that has several different lace patterns and other stitch patterns, so a stitch library book. I think it looks really great with this. There is a right side and a wrong side, so a knit side and a purl side, if you will. But I think they look lovely, and I don't really mind if the wrong side shows. Because it's so big and wonderful, it wraps nicely, wears nicely. And I've already worn it several times since finishing it a couple of weeks ago. So that's my first finished object of my winter knitting projects. My second finished object is what I'm wearing. This is my breed sampler shawl, and again, it is a big one. It's so warm and cozy. This was a project that has been in the works for many years now. My husband bought me a gift of a sampler pack, or actually 2 sampler packs of fiber from different breeds, and one of them was luxury fibers, one of them was heritage breed sheep, and so each stripe is a different breed of sheep or a different fiber animal. There are 43, I believe, different animals represented, and some of them are, so this one is mohair, this one is yak, we have Angora bunnies, we have silk, and we have all of these different natural colors of the different breeds of sheep, and I just am absolutely in love with this. Plus, it's super, super, super cozy, which it's been very cold here where I live, and so having it as a personal blanket to just wrap up in just makes everything so wonderful. So I'm super happy with how this turned out. It is just a triangle shawl that was knitted from the center top with stitches added on the ends, and then mostly garter stitch, but with some lace yarn overs every now and again, spaced out just to give a little bit of additional interest. And then the bottom of the shawl, or the tails, is a feather and fan lace pattern. I've never done a feather and fan lace pattern, but I've always liked it. I think it's very rustic looking, very old world looking. And so that was the base. It's a set of 6 knit 2 together, and then 6 yarn over knit 1, and that pulls the yarn, or pulls the fabric together and then makes it loose, which gives you this wavy pattern. I made this on a long circular needle, so by the time we got to the end, there were a lot of stitches on the needle, and it got to be pretty challenging to manipulate all those stitches. So I was glad to be finished with it when I finally was, although it was fun to make as I was going. I did have to add on a little bit of extra wool and fiber from my stash that I'd had. The sampler packs got to this dark line here from the top, so all of that was from the sampler packs. And then I had to add on some white and black alpaca that I had in my stash, and then this is some extra blue-faced luster that I had. There is blue-faced luster in here as well. And then this at the bottom is the Welsh Black Mountain, which we're going to spin today. So I love this shawl. I'm so excited about it. I'm so happy with how it turned out. And I would definitely encourage you, if you're interested in different breeds of sheep and how they might spin and how they might knit, to really explore the different breeds. This has been an amazing project, and I can't wait to get into some of the other breeds of sheep of wool that I have. So a couple of works in progress, and then we'll get to the spinning. This first work in progress that I'm going to share with you actually was not planned for my winter projects, but it came out of the knitting on this shawl with the feather and fan lace pattern that I just loved doing the knitting of, and I thought I'm going to make that into another project. And so I had some yarn in my stash from a yarn crawl, local yarn crawl a couple of years ago. That was their special featured hand-dyed yarn. This is a merino sock yarn with a little bit of nylon. It's very, very soft, and it's sort of a cream base, but then it has all sorts of speckles of different colors. And so that's the yarn that I used. I had 2 skeins of this, and I thought I'll make a scarf with it. So this is the scarf in progress with the feather and fan lace pattern. It is probably going to stretch to be about 16 to 18 inches wide, I would imagine, which will really open up the lace. But I hope you can see all the different colors of the speckles. I think it reminds me of a flower garden, and so that's what I'm thinking of when I'm making this, is the flower garden. It's going to be standard scarf length. This is about a little over halfway, actually quite a bit over halfway. I think the halfway point is somewhere around here, so this is into the second ball now. But it's going pretty fast, and again, the feather and fan lace pattern is only a 4-row pattern. So you have the first row where you make the yarn overs and the knit 2 togethers, and then you do a reverse stockinette ridge on the back side, so you knit the back side, and then you come back to the front side, knit a row, and then back to the back side and purl a row, so regular stockinette, and then you're set up to do the feather and fan again. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying making this scarf. Apparently I was really interested in making some lace this winter because my next work in progress is also a lace scarf. This is the mohair and silk lace scarf that I'm making. This will be a Mobius scarf. I'm about 3/4 of the way done with it, and this is all the yarn I have left of this color. If you saw my last video, you'll see that I had 2 different colors, so I do have another ball, may make another scarf. We'll see how that goes. So as a Mobius scarf, you have live stitches on the end. They're sitting here on a waste yarn, and then when I get this end cat ready to finish, I'll give it a half twist, a half turn, meet up the ends, and then sew those together so that there's a Mobius strip, and then it will just be, it sits so nicely. I've made one of these before, a Mobius strip scarf, shawl, scarf, cowl. It's hard to know what to call it. It's a little bit bigger than a cowl. I guess it's a scarf, but it's pretty wide. So anyway, it's a Mobius strip, and it lays really flat. You don't have to tie it or bunch it up. And because it's wide, you can actually put it over your head really easily. I made one of these for my mother probably 20 years ago at this point, and she still carries it around in her coat pocket because this yarn is so soft and squishy that it just squishes up to nothing, but it's so lofty because of the mohair. It's very, very warm. So I can't wait for this to be finished. I'm really excited about it. I love this turquoise color. The other ball that I have is silver, and both were hand dyed by Bigfoot Fibers that unfortunately I don't know where they're based in. They came to a trunk show in one of my local yarn shops a few years ago, and so if you find Bigfoot Fibers, this is the work that they do. It's amazing, lovely deep color. And with this turquoise, there's actually, you probably can't see it very well, but there's some spotting of darker turquoise and some areas that didn't take quite as much. So there's a little bit of variegation in the turquoise, which is just beautiful. The lace pattern itself is a very simple lace pattern. It's called Aura. It's a 4-row pattern where you have yarn overs that are sort of spaced near each other and then farther apart and near each other and farther apart, which makes this trellis pattern. So you'll see this up close at the end in the shots at the end, so that you can see the lovely detail of this lace pattern and how it looks in this mohair lace. I've never raised sheep myself. I have been around a few sheep in my life, but until I started spinning and really getting into exploring the different breeds, I had no idea how many breeds there were. I still don't know how many breeds there are, or the differences between them and why they have these different characteristics to them. So I have a few different books that I have purchased over the years that I use to sort of understand the different breeds. The first one is called Pure Wool by Sue Blacker. This is a knitter's guide to using single breed yarns. A lot of the yarn that you buy commercially just says that it's wool. It might be merino. Some of the commercial yarns are looking into some of the more popular breeds like blue-faced Leicester. But majority of the yarn that you buy in commercial shops just says wool. And you don't know what breed it was, or if it was one breed, or if it was many breeds. And so it has the qualities that it has, but you don't know what that, where that comes from. When you knit with or spin with wool that comes from one type of sheep, you can really get a sense of the animal and how it lives and its environment and the different qualities. And as you can see from the shawl, a lot of the white sheep are all different shades of cream and white, and they have different staple lengths, so the length of the fiber on the animal. They have different amounts of crimp in the wool. They have different amounts of lanolin in the wool. They have just so many characteristics, and they spin really differently because of that. So one of the things that I did with the sampler shawl is, while I was spinning each one of them, I made little notes of how the fiber spun, what I thought it might be good for. I saved back some of the unspun fiber, some of the singles, and then some of the plied yarn as well. So I don't just have it in the shawl. I have it as all the stages, and I have that now combined in a notebook. But these books, this one in particular, has a section for Black Welsh Mountain fleece. You can see the sheep there. They are black in color. Their wool is black, very dark. One of the things that I really like about these books is that they show you the wool in all these different stages, including as it's knitted, and then tells you a little bit about the breed itself. This particular book also then has patterns that for knitting for projects that would go really nicely with this fleece. So that gives you an idea of how this is going to wear, what it's going to be like to wear, because some of the fleeces are really soft and some of them are a little scratchier, and you wouldn't necessarily want to have something that's really scratchy right next to your skin, but it might be very hard wearing and really good for rugs, for example. The Black Welsh Mountain fleece, just going to tell you a little bit about it, what we're looking at. They call it a native type sheep. It has black fleece, long tails. They don't have wool on their faces. Some sheep have wool on their faces, and they're super cute with that, but some of them have no wool really on their face. Interestingly, I always thought that the rams had horns and ewes did not, but that's breed specific. So in this case, the rams have horns and the ewes normally do not. It has been classified by the UK Rare Breed Survival Trust as a native breed, and American Livestock Breeds Conservancy. These are two different groups of sheep breeding organizations. The American Livestock Breeds Conservancy classes it as recovering. There's some websites, which again I'll put down in the description for you if you're interested in the Breed Society, both in the UK and in the US. And sheep were bred for fleece, for wool, but they were also bred for milk and for meat. And it says in this case, historically, it was a meat sheep, but in the 19th century, there was a demand for black lamb fleeces, and so this breed was bred. So that's the Black Welsh Mountain from Pure Wool by Sue Blacker. We also have another book. This is more of a resource, whereas the other was a sort of to give you a little bit of the breed information along with some knitting patterns. The Fleece and Fiber Source Book. This is a heavy book. It is a reference book, and it has many, many pages, but again, has all the different sheep and fleeces. And the Black Welsh Mountain is here. You can see the sheep there, the lovely sheep with no wool on his face and the horns. There are, again, the pictures of what the yarn looks like in the different states, and some interesting things that it's known for. But this book tells you a lot about the fleece itself and the characteristics. So in this case, the fleece weight for a Black Welsh Mountain is between 2 1/4 to 5.5 pounds. That's a big range, 1 to 2.5 kilograms, but it's usually 3 to 4 pounds. Staple length is between 2 and 4, but usually 3 to 4, so it's a fairly long staple length, and that was my experience when spinning it as well. One of the factors that they often talk about in terms of fleece is the fleece diameter, so the thinness of the actual fibers themselves. This one is generally 28 to 36 microns, although there are breeders who are trying to get that even finer. And then there's some information about how you might want to use the fleece. It says that for knitting, crocheting, and weaving, the wool is relatively soft and extremely durable. That's my experience as well. Spinning it, I felt like it was very soft for being a single breed, a rare breed. Sometimes they are a bit hairy. This was not the case. It will not be good for dyeing, obviously, because it is dark black. But if you wanted to blend it with other fibers, that could give some gray tones or some deep tones. I've had some fiber that was blended with Zwartbles, which was another black sheep, that really made a nice blend. So that is the Fleece and Fiber Source Book. Both of these books I think are still available, and the Fleece and Fiber Source Book is definitely a go-to if you're interested in sheep breeds. Before we get to spinning, I wanted to show you the fiber a little bit. So this is Black Welsh Mountain top that I bought that was commercially prepared. I bought this from the Woolery. So here is the fiber. As you can see, it's very consistent in the color. And there are occasionally some white hairs in there. You can pull those out, though, very easily if you don't want them, both during the spinning and when you're knitting with it, because they sort of will stick out and be pretty obvious. The staple length you can see here is about 3 inches, and it spins really nicely when prepared this way. I didn't prepare this myself, as I said. I bought it commercially prepared, so I don't know what it's like in the fleece itself. I don't know what it's like to card it or comb it, but once it's prepared, it's very easy to work with. And here is the 2-ply yarn that I made. It's a nice, this is just my standard spin, so I did a 2-ply long draw woolen spun. I have not set the twist yet on this, so it's got a little bit of life to it still that's going to relax. But this is the finished 2-ply yarn. I think would be really nice for a sweater, that especially if it's going to be a top layer sweater. Very warm. It's softer than some of the other fleeces, but not as soft as something like merino. But I love the color of this yarn, of this sheep, and it's really fun to work with. So with that, let's go and spin some Black Welsh Mountain. We're spinning on the Kromsky Polonaise. enjoyed this exploration of spinning and knitting with Black Welsh Mountain sheep fiber. Do you like to spin with individual breeds? What's your favorite? Tell me in the comments. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!